The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Keep your mission on your mind and your mind on your mission. This is Mission Minded with Michael Coleman.
Welcome back to Mission Minded. Keep your mind your mission on your mind. He's Michael Coleman, the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, on the left-hand side of the screen here on our YouTube channel, Tony Kurre Radio. And, of course, I am Tony Kurre. You can find this show at least 5 days a week here on the TKR app, not to mention our 13 other podcast shows we do. And wherever you get your favorite podcast, you can find us on as well. Michael, what's been going on, brother? How you doing? I'm assuming you're staying cool, and I love your topic you're getting today. But first of all, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. That we're recording a couple of days late, just because the first of the week was a little chaotic for me.
Yeah.
But those things happen, and so we're breaking bread here through the radio a couple of days late. But glad to come today with a topic that I think a lot of people can relate to.
No, I think this is wonderful. I wasn't sure if you had just come up with this topic off the top of your head, and then you had mentioned the fact that you had found an article that was referencing this as well. And this is perfect timing because you and I speak for several minutes, if not a couple hours before every show, it seems like. And I was talking about my son earlier today with you, and he's going to be going back to Clemson, or trying to go back to Clemson as a sophomore. And I was telling him, when you're picking out, he is not sure what his major is yet. And I said, when you pick out what you want to do for a living, we all wish that we could get a girl that is super smart and good looking.
Right.
That's great. She's giving, she's beautiful, and she's got a great heart. We all are looking for that woman, but sometimes she's not the smartest, or sharpest tool in the box, but she's got the looks, and sometimes we can't have the whole package. That goes for jobs too. We'd all love to make $250,000 a year doing something we love. We would all love to do that.
Sure.
Unfortunately, that's just not how it works. But I have told him. And, I can think of a couple of years in my life were my best years, where I finally had some extra money on the side. Maybe we upgraded to first class. I don't remember what we did or why we did it, just because I was having a better year, got a bigger bonus than I normally did. But it really didn't change that much. It really didn't. I've got friends of mine. I know you do too. You got a lot of big money people that you deal with. I've got friends of mine that are millionaires that don't have to worry about how to, whether they're going to be able to write their water bill on time, and they're not any happier than I am.
Right.
And so I've implored him that he's like, okay, would you say, he asked me this question, would you rather take a job that pays really well and work it for 25 or 30 years and then be able to try it early and then make sure your kids are taken care of, and you don't like it? Or would you rather work a medial job that pays $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year that you really enjoy and you work till you're 70? And I said, I'd take the latter all day long. I said, I would. I said, I can't tell you. I said, from a physical standpoint, from a stress standpoint, from a marriage standpoint,
sure.
it all slides together. When you enjoy what you do for a living, it makes life a hell of a lot more fun to live, period.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your money issues aren't that big of a deal, because you know what? Money's not the whole. It's not the end. So give me your thoughts on that. First of all, you've been blessed that you've been doing things that you love to do. I know you love to give back. You're a service guy, and I love that about you, but just talk about that first.
Well, just my own personal experience, going back to 18 years old, I was pretty messed up teenager for a whole host of reasons. Ended up going in the military because really I had no other place to go, and didn't have the maturity to go to college. We're still very much in a very immature mindset, but had some rebellion issues. Just struggled in a tough environment growing up, and so didn't really have a good skill set to be able to navigate that. So it just left me really disinterested in furthering my education at the time. And so the military was my best option. It was one of those, by then, I had a baby on the way. I'm 18 years old. I really put myself in a tough situation. So I went to the Army, and a lot of times I tell people, there was nothing, as grateful as I am looking back, because I ended up staying 21 years and retiring out of the military, but I'm so grateful for the opportunity. But going into it, I would love to say, oh, I grew up a patriot. I wanted to serve my country. No, I had a lot of dead end roads, and that was the only path from where I was. And I took it and did not fall in love with the Army for many years. And so, but very much needed that structure. And so, we've talked about this on previous shows, the aspect of, yeah, it's all great if you get a job that you find meaningful and purposeful and you feel like you're making a difference. The reality is the majority of Americans are like, no, okay, I'm married, I have responsibilities, I got to put food on the table. I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And you'll see in their 20s and 30s, you'll see a lot of people change jobs. It used to be you go to work, you get a state job or something at 20 years old, and you ride that out to retirement, and then you might do something else. But there's so many people that work 20 and 30 in their 20s and 30s that work jobs because we're just trying to pay for our family, support our family. And then a lot of them are like, I just can't wait till I can retire because I don't want to go to work. These are people that really, no matter what, there's almost no scenario that they would find fulfillment. Maybe they're incredibly introverted and they don't like going to work and being in an office with people and having to answer. I mean, there's a whole lot of psychological reasons, financial, there's a whole maze of things that you'd have to work through. But what you said earlier was if you are blessed with the opportunity, and lots of times that choice is there where, hey, there's more money down this path, but you're personally interested going this other path, but doesn't pay as well, what kind of choices? And I think the advice that you gave is certainly correct. I think to find I have found that it's much better to go to work somewhere where you enjoy it, you look forward to it. It just matters how you sleep at night, just your overall health, stress level, all those kind of things go into it. But what we find with Gen Z, and I'm not trying to put them necessarily in a bad light. I think there's some truth to that with above them and below them. But what we're finding is a lot of Gen Zs are trying things and they don't like it and they're just quitting and walking away. Back in our day, we didn't really have those kind of options. Yeah. You didn't quit a job unless you had another one that you were going to. It wasn't this, I don't like this, screw this, I'm going to quit and just go find my way. I'll land, because first of all, we couldn't have gone back to our parents. Our parents would say, no, dude, you're gone. You're on your own. Yeah, I might let you sleep here a couple of nights, maybe a week, but you got about that much time to figure it out. And of course, we just know the environment is much different. Well, when you look at how often people quit jobs, that's what this whole thing is about. It's why so many people actually hate their jobs. They looked at research over the years. A full third, just in the last 4 years, a full third of people who are reporting greater dissatisfaction with their jobs. So you look out over Europe, 43%. So this is not just about job satisfaction, but finding meaning and purpose in your job. And so when you talk over in Italy, they lead the way, 43% when you talk to them and they say, does your job actually add meaning to your life? And that's a little bit different question than is your job meaningful? Because you could say, yeah, my job is meaningful, but it's drudgery to me. What they were saying was, is the job that you do, there's not saying, is your job a meaningful job? Does your job provide you meaning in your life? And it's nuanced. Some people might say, well, that's just semantics, but I really think it's a vital difference. Come to the U.S., and the latest data is 17%.
Wow. So
less than 1 in 5 are saying, hey, I find that meaning, like when you talk about what's meaningful to you, that less than 1 in 5 are going to say, oh, my work is very meaningful to me, like purposeful. And it's something that I have committed myself to not taking for granted. I'm thankful in my prayers regularly. And when I communicate, when I have an opportunity to speak up, is to talk about how blessed. I recognize I am because I am. And I never wake up and go, oh, I got to go to work. I'm always excited to go to work. But the reason I brought up this article is what I've said so far is not really earth shattering. But what was very interesting was kind of this focus on, we oftentimes have said there are certain jobs that are meaningful as we think about it, or bring meaning to our lives. And typically it's jobs that affect other people's lives. So you think about a nurse, you think about a teacher, you think about a counselor, somebody working in the nonprofit world, all that. Now that is not a comment on the pay, that is not comment on, or the work environment. It's just, yes, here's an opportunity for one person to affect in a positive way the outcome of another. And to me, when you just peel it all back, that's what a meaningful job is. Mm-hmm. You're making a difference. If you disappear tonight, at least 1, 2, 5 dozen, 10 dozen, whatever people are going to say, wow, that impacts me, that hurts me, because now I've got a hole in my life created by the absence of that person. But so we tend to classify those jobs, and then we look at jobs like sales jobs and communication positions, staffing positions, where you just recycle people in and out. And so salespeople are like, yeah, I'm out there, I'm selling, maybe a good salesman, but I'm just making somebody money. I don't feel like, that I'm really making a difference. If I left here, they may not get as good a salesman as I am, but all I'm doing is padding somebody's pockets. I'm not really changing my environment. If I died and went away, there wouldn't really be an impact. We've put so much on the job itself. And what this article was showing was meaning is not necessarily resting in what the position is, but also in the environment and in the culture and in a leader or a supervisor's ability to convey meaning to the person doing any task. So kind of the vibe I got from this, and then I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
The vibe that I kind of got from this was, look, let's say that you're going into a job that's you're pushing papers, anybody could do this. And so you go in, and just the job itself, separate and apart from a supervisor, where you're going and you're doing these things, you're leaving there. You're like, every day I'm going to come in and push papers. I don't see the result of this. I don't see the impact. So you could say this job is not meaningful. What if you had a supervisor that would take some time on occasion to come sit down with you and say, do you see this grant form? This is just a bunch of paperwork. It's just a spreadsheet. It's just numbers to you, and you're reconciling this. Let me share with you this grant right here, and because of what you wrote or because of your reconciliation, you've been part of this taking place. In other words, getting people to see beyond the paperwork that's in front of them, lift their eyes up and see something much broader, and that you're playing a role. Yes, you're doing this seemingly menial task. And I laughed a minute ago when you talked about menial jobs that pay 60, 70, 80,000. I used to want to kill for a
job. Yeah, no doubt. Oh, yeah.
But you're right. I mean, salaries keep going up. But to lift your eyes up and to say, hey, without you, there's a whole bunch of people that made this happen, and you were part of that. And because of what you did, now this person or this group of people or whatever opportunity is now created. So now your lenses we've talked about it in the past, your lens has been changed. Mm-hmm. Because before you're like, I'm just a pencil pusher. Nobody knows me. I'm lost in this, to saying, no, I'm part of something, of making the world better. My efforts, my name is not going to go up in lights, but if I don't show up, somebody's got to do this vital task. And I'm a supervisor coming along and not just conveying the project that they're a part of, but just letting them know what value they have at the company. It may be, hey, everybody sees you. We have one person that no matter where you see her, morning, noon, or night, she's got a huge smile on her face.
Mm-hmm.
And she's known all over Montgomery as just as the most pleasant person you'd ever want to meet. Having somebody like that can have such a huge impact on morale. And, rather than somebody walk around complaining all the time, somebody does that. So what I'm saying is that if somebody says, hey, I work for a telemarketing company, or I work for this, I go in as drudgery, all that. That's probably true. But that doesn't mean that these jobs that have been classified this way cannot be more meaningful, and that you give people meaning and purpose in that job. Because if you do that, you're going to not only get more productivity, you're going to get less turnover. You're going to actually enrich the life of your employee by helping them see what role they play in a situation where everybody's going to win out of that. And so I think if you have somebody, it's not necessarily about the job, it's about the environment and helping to communicate why their job matters. And then when they leave, they're like, I make a difference. Oh, by the way, my job does have meaning to me. And that just changes the whole vibe, everything about that. It matters. And it's possible, I think, regardless of what job you have.
No, you've unboxed a lot here. Work ethic obviously is very, very important, and you're coming from the son of a newspaper distributor. My dad threw newspapers for nearly 40 years, never took a day off. And people are like, what is that? You mean on the back of a bike? My dad had 1,400 singles or 1,400 dailies, and would get in a Econoline 1,100 van for 7, 8, 9 hours a day.
Right.
In the middle of the night, and throw newspapers out the windows. And that's all he did.
Yeah.
And he'd drive 100, 120 miles a night, and that's what he did to support his family. He always found a way to take pride in his job. He showered every single night for 40 years before he got in that dirty, nasty van to throw newspapers. I mean, all he was going to have was newspaper print all over his hands the whole night.
Clean and groomed.
I mean, he did. I mean, because, and he, I remember seeing the other guys who would meet down in Sharonville, Ohio to get the newspapers off the trucks from the Cincinnati Enquirer, which was the distribution center, was down in Mason. And these guys would show up, you could tell they just got out of bed, they hadn't shaven, they haven't, and because they're just going to be sitting in their truck all night throwing newspapers. And my dad took pride in his job. And I learned a lot from my father. Like, if you got to do it, you might as well make it the best you can possibly make it. I always say, if you're going to take the trash out, try to find a butterfly along the way. Try to find something. And I know kids don't want to feel that way these days. And a lot of them are like, oh yeah, here comes the old dad thing, blah 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 blah. Well, I'm telling you, man, it's a way of life. And if you come to appreciate those things, I don't know if that's I don't even know if that's a teachable thing. This is not like Google allowing you to bring your dogs to work on Wednesdays. You know what I mean? They've done everything they can for their employees. And ironically enough, now they've pulled all those things back. But, everything from having a snack shop to having a smoothie bar to having ping pong tables, to have all these different things. And that's fine until, of course, all of a sudden we have COVID and everyone's working from home, and now they don't want to go back to that place again. But I really think it's more... to me, it's more the people experience. I have found that, and I can't remember, and if I had Dr. Josh here, he'd be able to tell me, but there was a great book written about one of the Holocaust survivors, and I forget what his name was, and basically wrote his story about how every day he had a smile on his face, and how every day he would try to find the sun in the sky, and how every day he would try to say hello to the same person, or maybe tell a knock-knock joke to the same person, knowing that they were going to get on the back of a train and probably going to work themselves to death. But this guy would be drawn near by hundreds of other Holocaust survivors, because he did make their day of work. And I know I'm comparing apples and oranges here. Don't get me wrong, but no, I get it. You get my idea. And how, quite frankly, when you knew it was a matter of life and death, you would do whatever it took. I imagine people do it in prison. You brought up a really interesting point, something that I think is really, when you get a service job, whether you're a school teacher, firefighter, first responder, someone along those lines, you have to be someone in the military. You have to be someone special to take that job on. You have to be someone really special to take that job on and actually love that job. I get, a lot of people are like, oh, I would love to go help special needs children. I'd love to be a special needs teacher. That's why you got to go through tons of classes. You got to go through not so quick, my friend. Oh, I'd love to work in a nursing home. Okay. That sounds great. When you want to, if you want to go stop by Danbury for 2 or 3 hours a week and do that, that's one thing, but to actually work in that for 40 hours a week, it'll knock you down. It'll take
going
you out
and reading to older people or singing to older people for an hour or two a week is one thing. Going and cleaning bedpans and helping them in and out of the bathroom and getting dressed and showered and the really tough work that a lot of those people do is very thankless.
So I would say that if, assuming you have a choice in what you're going to do for a living, I'm gonna go all the way back to human nature. And again, if we had a psychologist in here, that would be a little different. But let me ask you this: what have you done? A lot of people would look at your job and that's not fun. Your job's not fun. To go raise money and awareness for food deficient individuals in the state of Alabama, where do you find outside the promise of being serviceable to the Lord and Savior that you know, and know that you're doing great work? That is certainly something right there. That's the cherry on top, right? But I mean, as far as an actual fun job to do, a lot of people would look at your job and go, "That's." So let me ask you this from a personal standpoint.
Sure.
What do you do? What does Michael Coleman do to ensure that you can take pride in what you do on a daily basis? And how does that start? Because I know people like you, and I know there's about 10 or 15 people that work at Heart of Alabama Food Bank. They quite frankly wouldn't like their jobs unless you were working there.
Well, and that's actually part of it. I have been at certain nonprofits. I've been in certain military units, and leadership is everything. And I've seen where you can come in and have even a nonprofit where you're conceivably helping people. How easy it is to get caught up in the mundane and the routine and to lose sight of the mission. The thing that excites me, and a lot of it is the way I'm wired, is I love coming in and saying, okay, here's a mission. When I got here 2 years ago, I was looking and said, okay, this is our mission. It's a very important mission. We are not, there's a lot of growth opportunity here, and not growth necessarily to get bigger, but just growth and doing things the right way, a more proficient way, a more thoughtful way, where you're transferring. This is not our story; it's about those we're trying to help. So I tell people all the time. We have a staff meeting once a month, and I start off by thanking every one of them. And I say, listen, I know that you may be out there lifting the forklift, and somebody else is driving a truck, and somebody else is, pushing data and all the kind of things that go on, but we are all working together. I said, I want you to know something. There are kids who are going to bed tonight that have food in their stomach that wouldn't have if you weren't here at work. Mm-hmm. So it's me constantly taking what opportunities I have. I mean, I don't want to literally do this every day, because if you did that every day, then it becomes, hollow. But I'm trying to remind them that people's lives are different because of what they do. And these are not going to be anybody they're going to get a chance that's ever going to know them, know their name, know their impact, be able to thank them. But to know that the world is different because collectively of what we're doing, that is meaningful. The other thing that I think is very important is I've seen so many businesses that get caught up in bureaucracy, and this is the way we've always done it. And so they slog through the mud, and everybody's asking, why are we doing it this way? And nobody can really answer other than we've always done it this way. Mm-hmm. So I love going into organizations and saying, because one of the things that eats up so much of people's time is bureaucracy paperwork and all that. When I got here 2 years ago, and I knew this organization years ago, over the past previous 12 years from when I knew it, they had the same forms. Nothing had been digitized as opposed to, to take advantage of the latest technology. And so same amount of people required to do the same old drudgery. And so you free that up, you take advantage of technology, you become more productive. You're thanking people, you're praising people, you're lifting them up, helping them see a higher thing. And it's not necessarily something there's no magic in the sauce. You can go to all these leadership books and they're all going to touch on these principles. But not only do I feel like I'm making a difference in the lives of those that we're serving with food, but I feel like I get the opportunity to create the best, most welcoming, most work-friendly culture. Now, everybody here will tell you that inside of this friendly persona and all this kumbaya-ness that I'm portraying, they know they have to come to work with a purpose, and they have to come in and be productive and work hard, and they can have a good time doing that. Because what I won't tolerate is inefficiency and drama and all those kind of things. So, but the people who come in here to the culture, I think they all find meaning and they find purpose. And what's happened is our workforce becomes, especially across our leadership, becomes very stable. And I think all those play a factor. They're not here because I'm here. They're here because they have found a place where they can make a living for themselves, enjoy it, but identify as one of those that has meanings. I get satisfaction knowing I've been part of creating that for them.
I love the old, you got to create joyness for yourself. I'm not coming to work so you can make me happy. I have to find the joy in something. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, here we go. Here's one of these cliches with the sun and the horizon and there's a sailboat in the background, that kind of crap.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, you've got to create happiness for yourself. If you're on this earth waiting for someone else to impress you or make you happy, if winning the lottery is the only thing that's going to make you happy, then you're going to be in a world of hurt down the road, because that ain't life. It's just not. And that goes for the workplace too. It really does. And, I am, for some reason, I am drawn towards sourpusses. I don't know what it is. I don't I'll find somebody in the workplace and I will screw that individual, someone that. And it's funny because there'll be one day of the week where you will not say hello to them first, and they'll go, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "What? You didn't say good morning to me." I'm like, "Dude, I say good morning to you every morning. Why don't you say good morning to me first?" And it's like all of a sudden they come out of this little shell. Are you angry with me? I'm like, "No, I'm tired of saying good morning first." And those are fun people to do, but it's amazing because there are so many people that come in. We sleep a third of our life, we work a third of our life, we play a third of our life, and golly, if you just turn the TV and it looks like the sleep part, we're not doing a very good job at. We're either too wide awake or we're too tired at the wrong times of the day. 17% of us aren't taking care of the other 8 hours because we don't like our jobs at an 83% clip. And then I don't know what the other. And the funny thing is at least according to our laws here, I think we're working harder in this country than we do anywhere else. And like it's right, Americans work harder. Well, we're working harder, but not smarter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, the idea of a 4-day work week is like 4-day work. A 4-day work week. Are you kidding me? We'll never get anything done. Well, I got news for you. Countries outside of here have been doing it for 20 years and it works just fine. And they're retiring when they're 60, not 65 and a half. So, I just, it's, but I do think I think it's a personal thing. I think it's and obviously we don't have enough time to go over the psychology of that. But I mean, for me,
I do want to encourage. So if you're a leader out there and you're hearing this, ask yourself, am I specifically acting in a way that tries to build meaning and purpose into a job and into a person's function? And it's very important how you can affect people's lives that way. But let's say I'm the one pushing the paper and I don't have anybody over me. And I'm not saying it's easy, but maybe you have to come in. You can still come in maybe through asking questions like, all right, nobody's coming and volunteering, but I want to see a bigger picture. So I'm going to find opportunities to talk and understand this company, even though I might be selling for this company. What does this company do? Does this company have a foundation? Lots of times you don't even know this, but companies have foundations. And so they're very philanthropic. And it's like, oh, you found out this company has a foundation and they give $5 million away to children's issues. Well, and then you turn around and go, oh, wait a minute. That company is able to do that as long as it's profitable. I'm in sales. I'm making this, not just this company profitable, but a certain amount of, goes towards. So there's all sorts of connections like that that you can make. And again, understand the company culture. And sometimes you dig in that and you realize the company doesn't do anything philanthropic. Our leaders are not. They're all about the bottom line. They don't care. And then sometimes that's when you're saying, you know what, it is time to make a shift. Another career or another company at least, because there's a lot of bad workplaces out there. So if you determine your workplace is bad, I would encourage you, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do everything you can. There are ways to turn what you do into something meaningful. And the more meaningful you can make it, the more you're going to enjoy, the more happiness you're going to have at any position.
And I would say before you venture off and go work somewhere else, look at yourself first. Just make
absolutely. It's definitely your mindset.
Make
your
sure
own personal mindset and what you bring is part of the equation.
I mean, just walk in the door and go, would I want to hang out with me today?
Yeah.
Serious? Yeah. Hey, I'm serious. I mean, are you that person that turns the cubicle light on real low and you get your hand like this and you're like this all morning? Or are you open to obviously a conversation? Are you friendly? Are you smiling? Do you joke around? Do you stay put? Are you the first one in, the first one out? Look at yourself a little bit, because you may not be a lot of fun to be around either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, depending on I'll go out and I'll use this as an example, and I'm being brutally transparent here. But I obviously went through some AA and some drug addiction in my life. And thank the Lord, I've been clean for over 6 years, and it's been wonderful. I was a really good drinker for 37 years, and then I got really bad at it. I was an excellent drinker for 37 years. People were like, "What happened?" I'm like, I was really, really good until I was really, really bad. And so for a short period of time, I had a court-ordered P test I had to take through the courts. And I would have done anything to make sure and ensure that I will see my kids when I want to see my kids. And just for the record, to end the story, I did everything that was asked of me, but I had to go in, and I'm thinking to myself, what kind of job would that be, to be the P tester? To be the person that sits behind it and calls out the name, puts the number on the P thing, and then hands that to you. They have to go in. This is what they do for a living. They go into another bathroom with a little door in the wall, and they have to watch you urinate. That's all they do, is they watch pee all day long. They watch people urinate into a pee cup. They take the cup back, and then they have it tested. That's what they do for a living for 9 hours a day. I mean, and so I'm looking at this going, wow, first of all, I don't want to be here, because I don't want someone watching me have to urinate into it. I mean, you would talk about something that is demoralizing. I did it. And you sure as hell don't want to be the one that has to watch me urinate, and all you're doing is handling urine.
And that's just not professionally. That's personally as well. Just in case anybody's wondering, exactly. we could go out to eat. I never want to see Tony urinate on her own.
Exactly. But I mean, at least if you're in a hospital, you're doing something good. You're taking a sample from one person to another, and maybe you're saving a life. When you're at the UAB rehab, whatever, you're not doing anything. You're just looking at someone's urine and taking one. So I mean, so how do you spin that? So I made a point when I was going in there, and I had to go in there twice a month for a year. Thank goodness it's over. But I made it a point to be as nice as I possibly could to everybody in that place. And I end up knowing woman named Jackie who ended up taking my $25 for my validation. I knew the woman that took my pee sample. I knew the gentleman who watched me every morning. I knew them by their first names. I would say good morning to them. I would joke about, whether I could go or not. I did everything I could. And they would look forward to me coming in.
Yeah.
Because, hey, Mr. Kurre, how you doing? I swear my color came up more often than not just because they knew it was going to be fun when I walked in the door. I tried to take this horrible situation and make it as light and as fun as possible, and we got through it. And I swear, I told them, hey, listen, I'm not coming back anymore. You would have swore they were hoping I would have a dirty test just so I'd have to go back in there for another year. So do what you can to make whatever situation you're in and as fun, as lighthearted as possible. This is Mission Minded. Coming up right after the show, we have Bite by Bite. What are we talking on Bite by Bite today?
Yeah, we're talking about having to, one of the things that I don't enjoy, but it's necessary, is in the food banking system, just like you see in the food stamp system, any kind of government program, any kind of real assistance, unfortunately, there's some unsavory characters that get involved and end up abusing that. So how do you keep the network corruption free? And so we're just going to talk about that a little bit.
All right, Bite by Bite's coming up next year on TKR.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.